You know how they say nobody's perfect and God forgives all? I think to an extent that's true. To an extent, specifically with regard to the phrase nobody's perfect. And I say to an extent because I think lots of people use that phrase very, very manipulatively. The phrase nobody's perfect refers to things like accidents, things beyond our control. You trip down some stairs, nobody's perfect. You slip on a banana peel, nobody's perfect. You fail that math test, nobody's perfect. You missed that jump shot, nobody's perfect. But you cheat on somebody, knowing you're gonna hurt them. Nobody's perfect? I don't know about that. You go around making fun of people, laughing at people, gossiping about people, purposely trying to get a reaction from people, purposely trying to hurt people, traumatize people, harm people, humiliate people. So much so that it affects their physical well-being. Because as we know, mental and emotional abuse, pain, things like that, it can take a toll on our physical well-being. Nobody's perfect. I don't know about that. See, even if you want to bring God into the equation, because I mentioned God, for God forgives all. That's what they say. I think to an extent that's true. God does forgive, assuming you believe in God. Here's the thing, man. Even if you don't believe in God, I think you can still live by the golden rule. You don't have to necessarily believe in a higher power to practice the golden rule. Do unto others as you wish they do unto you, or something along those lines. But if you do believe in God, right, and you believe in the notion that he forgives us or it forgives us for our sins, because we don't know if God is male or female, but you believe that God forgives us for our sins, I think God has a limit. I think God eventually will say, you know what? I think you're doing this shit on purpose. It's one thing to accidentally hurt somebody. It's another thing to purposely do it. Because I get it. Sometimes accidents happen. Sometimes we may speak in a manner that we don't really realize is coming across a certain way, and we might be having a bad effect on someone. We might do certain things that it's like, man, I didn't know. But once you become conscious of certain things, see, that's the thing. That's the gray area, really. Most people are very much conscious. They're aware of how they behave, how they speak to others, what they do to others. They're fully aware. I would make the argument that more often than not, most actions are very much calculated. What we say to people, what we do to people, what we do behind people's backs, it's all with the intention to get some sort of reaction from that person. Now, the reaction can be good or bad, but if you're purposely trying to get an adverse reaction, a bad reaction, a negative reaction, if you're trying to bring about pain or elicit pain or stir up trauma in someone else, and you get my point here. I think if you're purposely going around trying to hurt people, you don't have the luxury of saying, hey, nobody's perfect. Especially when you're doing it on purpose. Especially. See, I think God is similar to most human beings. Like human beings, you can tell when someone's purposely trying to hurt you in some way. You can tell when someone doesn't like you. You can tell when someone has it out for you, is talking about you. You can tell, you can pick up on that stuff. Even if you don't know exactly what they're saying, you can tell simply from a look, the vibes. Pick up on the vibes, the signs, everybody, you can tell. And God can tell too. God knows. God can see when a person is purposely going out of their way to hurt other people, to do dirt to other people. He can tell when you're at work doing it, when you're at home doing it, when you're doing it to your so-called friends. Maybe you're pretending to be someone's friend, but really you're just, as they say, a snake in the grass, or something along those lines. You get my point. If you believe in God, I would imagine you also believe God can see all of these things. And if you believe in God and you're still doing all of these things, these bad things, then man, I think you're really screwed. Because again, you're aware of it. Which tells me you probably really don't even believe in God. And to be honest with you, I think most people who claim to believe in God really don't believe in God. Because if they did, you know how humans are, man. You know how humans are. Humans only behave a certain way when they think there's a certain consequence for their behavior. Like if humans can get away with doing all sorts of terrible things, man, a lot more people will be doing it. Now, obviously, we have laws and things like that to kind of dissuade, kind of persuade and convince people to not act on certain urges. But even then, some people do it anyway, lots of people. Because it's a matter of, all right, man, if I'm not going to get caught, here I go. They're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? And since a lot of people do this, but yet they claim to believe in God, but yet they do all this crazy stuff. Like they say God can see all, but here they are just doing it anyway. That tells me they don't really believe in God. It's all BS. It's all BS. But the point still remains. The point still remains that, yeah, nobody's perfect. But that doesn't mean you purposely go out of your way to be a terrible person. Yeah, nobody's perfect. But you're still supposed to try to do the right thing. You're supposed to try to treat others the way you want to be treated. Something most of us have heard since we were little kids. Now, at the end of the day, people grow up and they start realizing, hey, I can just get away with stuff. People realize that even when they're little kids. They realize, oh my God, if I can get away with it, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I treat people. It's a shame. But I just want to reiterate this point. Yes, nobody's perfect, but you're still supposed to at least try to be a good person.